Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Krysten Hansyn and this is Goddess Imagine, a transformational yoga and modern metaphysical studio. Welcome back to the channel. I'm here today with a brand new tarot reading for you that's called Softening the Inner Critic, a sacred reading to rewrite the way that we speak to ourselves. This is a radical awakening for the woman who's sick and tired of speaking to herself as her own worst enemy and to begin viewing herself as her greatest ally. For those of us who feel the weight of overthinking, self-criticism, and self-loathing, or maybe we struggle with comparison syndrome or the pressure to be enough, this reading offers us the opportunity to step back and to reassess our inner lingo and learn to speak to ourselves as someone that we genuinely love and respect. And this goes above and beyond the subject of body image. This has to do with the way that we speak to ourselves as a whole woman. And if you're someone who seriously struggles with your inner critic, I just released a 70-minute transformational yoga class by the same name that I've already posted up into the YouTube channel. But just like negative body image, developing a harsh inner critic is also something that happens in our youth and then progresses as we get older. Negative self-talk can begin by growing up in a dysfunctional household and being consistently exposed to dysfunctional behaviors like alcoholism, addiction, or domestic violence. Maybe you grew up in poverty or experienced neglect. But instead of hearing words filled with love and praise, we grew up hearing words filled with anger and judgment. And as children, we subconsciously internalize those messages, leading us to believe that we're not good enough or we're too much. Maybe we're unworthy, unlovable, unacceptable, or whatever the words are for you. And some of us go on to develop a strong inner critic that mimics those harsh messages. Over time, that negative inner dialogue can seriously cause our self-confidence and self-worth to wane. And just like with our negative body image, as we become an adult and begin to experience our own trauma and drama, we can double down on those harsh beliefs, which ignites our inner critic and then spins that negative self-talk on loop. We literally develop our own unique and repetitive inner lingo filled with disempowering beliefs, words, and phrases that we repeat to ourselves over and over again. Developing a harsh inner critic is also something that can happen later in lifetime through adult dysfunctional relationships or having hypercritical bosses and judgmental coworkers. There's also social media and psychological influences. Maybe we struggle with perfectionism or are uber competitive, but all of these things can lead to developing inner criticism when we're feeling that we're not enough or that we're not doing something good enough. The point is, no matter how we develop this internal monster, having a harsh inner critic is a deeply dangerous and dysfunctional habit that seriously impedes our ability to become the highest version of ourselves and live the lifestyle that we've always imagined. Because how in the world can we reach the level of success that we desire and make all of our dreams come true when we can't even see and speak to ourselves in a positive light? Having a harsh inner critic is something that I've also struggled with through my entire life, and it's absolutely debilitating and overwhelming. I have to be continuously aware of my inner mindset because there's certain stressors that can trigger my inner critic like the bitch it is and send me right down the wrong road. But I'm also aware that each and every one of us was made for more. Each and every one of us was made for a divine purpose and are fully capable and deserving of becoming the woman that we were created to be, to manifesting a soulful business and the luxury lifestyle that we've always imagined. There are no extra people. There aren't just these extra people walking around on the earth taking up space. Each and every one of us was made for more. Today's reading helps us to identify our core debilitating beliefs, to release the damage and dysfunction surrounding our inner voice, rebuild our self-confidence and our self-worth, and learn how to speak to ourselves as someone that we genuinely love and respect. It's time to lay down the proverbial sword and stop fighting against ourselves and begin standing for ourselves. Together, we'll go from becoming our own worst enemy to being our greatest ally. I have a little group intention for us, just a little upper message for our reading today, and it goes like this. There is a voice within us that learned to protect us by judging, perfecting, and comparing. It whispers to keep us small, believing that safety lies in control. But we've outgrown the limits of this voice. This sacred reading invites us to meet our inner critic not as an eternal enemy, but as a weary guardian who only ever wanted to keep us safe. Through this reading, we'll soften the edges of our harsh inner critic, listen with compassion, and rewrite the language of our heart. And as I draw each card, I invite you to breathe gently and remember this. Every word we speak to ourselves is a spell. So please be sure that the words you choose reflect love, kindness, and truth. All right, let's get started here. And before we begin, I'd like to take a moment just to ground myself, just to come to a place of center. You're welcome to join me if you choose. If not, you can just listen to the sound of my voice. That's fine too. And if you're able, we can just come to a nice tall seat as we open up ourselves to the voice of this reading. We ground, center, and focus our mind, body, and spirit. We invite our higher power and spiritual team to join us. We connect to our inner goddess. We embrace our divine feminine energy. And we create a circle of protection around ourselves for this journey. We can also take a moment to set a personal intention for this reading if you choose. And I can give us a moment to do that. When we're finished, we take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Beautiful. Open our eyes. We come back to the here and now. I've already shuffled the cards, and normally I'll go through and just fluff up the energy a little bit because it can be so loud on the speaker and the banging on the table. I'm just going to go with it right from where we're at here. So today I'm using the Rider-Waite deck, and we'll begin with card number 1. Now, card number 1 represents the voice of our inner critic, right? The question is, what story or message does my inner critic keep repeating? This reveals the tone or the origin of the harsh voice within. This can be an echo from the past or a fear of not being enough. Our cue is to listen with curiosity, not judgment. Awareness is what dissolves shame. So we just want to open our mind and come to this just listening to what the message is and not taking it personal. So card number 1, the voice of the inner critic, is the Knight of Pentacles. Beautiful card for this. So when we come into the court cards, right, we're coming up through the minor arcana. We've accomplished some things, and we come into the page. We're learning to hone our craft. We're learning to get our skill sets about us. When we get to be the knight, we're learning to ride with our skills. However, with the Knight of Pentacles, we're not moving. This card is stuck. He's not moving at all. The horse's feet are firmly planted. When we talk about the Pentacles, this can be representing a fear of not wanting to start a business, or not wanting to invest money, or not wanting to do something with our finances in order to get ourselves ahead. In relation, the voice of the inner critic, this can reveal the tone or the origin of where we got this negative self-talk from. Perhaps there were people in our life that kept us stuck. Maybe there were people in our life that would tell us, don't go play outside because you might get hurt. You're not going to go roller skating because you could break a leg. You're not going to go out on a date because you could be hurt or something could happen to you. Maybe someone in your life had something terrible happen to them, or maybe their parents treated them that way, but they adopted that behavior and then they parlayed that onto you, and now you're in a stage of life where you're stuck. You're afraid to put your foot out. You're afraid to take a risk. You're afraid that something's going to happen. The Knight of Pentacles with this card This reveals the tone or the origin. We're listening with curiosity. We've spent a good amount of our time stuck and stranded in one place. There's many people that become completely paralyzed by fear, the fear of risk, the fear of a relationship because they might get their heart broken, or the fear of starting a business because they might lose money, or fear of going to school because they might fail. But we don't get anywhere in life unless we learn to take a risk. And this Knight of Pentacles tells us that many of us have been stuck, or there's been people in our life with their own fears that they passed on to us, and now we're suffering with those, and it's not even ours. It's not even our voice. Or maybe we developed it through our own dysfunctional relationships, and now I don't want any part of anything. I'm staying inside of my apartment. I'm not going anywhere. We have card number 2, the hidden wound. What deeper need or unhealed aspect of myself fuels this critical voice? This shows the tender place beneath the criticism, the wound longing for reassurance or belonging. Our cue is to imagine that we're speaking to that broken part of ourselves as if we're speaking to a stranger. So card number 2, the hidden wound. What fuels this critical voice? The Fool card. What a crazy card for this. Goes so well. Okay, so dig this. So the Fool card represents going on a journey, having faith. You can tell he's walking off the cliff. His eyes are up in the air. He fully knows that fate has him. Whatever he attempts, he's going to do. This man doesn't have a worry in the world. He could care less. He's just traveling on. He's out to do his thing. The voice that fuels that inner critic is all the things that we've missed out on. All the chances we didn't take, all the things we didn't do, either through the people in our life or within ourselves. Maybe we had an opportunity to start a business, or maybe we had an opportunity to get married, or whatever it was, and we didn't take the risks. That fear kept us so paralyzed that we were just unable. We became stagnant, right? And now all that regret, that anger, that resentment keeps fueling all of that right here. It keeps fueling us and making us stuck. If I had a nickel for every time that I had a person for a reading ask me, what keeps me from starting my business? What fear do I have? Excuse me. What fear do I have for starting my business? I keep wanting to start a business, but I always seem to stop. I don't need the cards to know it's a fear of failure. Somewhere in there is a fear that you are going to fail and maybe risk embarrassment or shame, or you think something's going to happen, right? If I also had a nickel for every time I failed at something, I'd be a very wealthy woman. My inner voice is a little bit different, but part of that has also kept me stuck as well. So for many of us, there's that fear that we've missed out on so many things just because something else kept us frozen in that place. We see other people going on adventures, and not just climbing the Himalayas, but maybe going on a cruise or taking an airplane or doing something, and we've stayed here. So it fuels that inner voice, that resentment, that anger, all the things that we missed out on keeps us stuck in this place. Next, we have card number 3, which is the softening. How can I begin to soften my self-talk right now? This offers us a gentle practice, an affirmation, or an action that invites warmth into our heart where tension once lived. Our cue is to replace one critical phrase with a compassionate truth every single day. So this card is, how do I begin to soften this inner critic that I have? How do I soften these edges? And the card is the 2 of Pentacles. Beautiful. So the 2 of Pentacles, as we can see, is about balance. And this poor man is trying with his whole might here to balance what he has. The coins are flying everywhere. His step is off. There's ships in the background going up and down. He's really in a state of internal panic. But if we look very closely, it's all internal panic. Okay, there's no dark clouds, there's no stormy skies. He's feeling this within his heart, and it's parlaying out around him. Even the water is wavy. But the sky tells me that there's no true strife. It's the strife that he's feeling. So when we think about the softening, we think about finding our own inner balance and perhaps flipping the script. When we think about how I can begin to soften my self-talk, many of us have a phrase or words or things that we say to each other. For example, when I'm upset, some of the things that I can say are, you're so stupid, you're so goddamn dumb, you're so this, you're so that. And I go on this thing, right? So instead I would say, you're so God blessed smart. You're so amazing. You're so quick. And I learned to replace, instead of saying I'm so stupid, I would say I'm so smart. And I would learn to interject one word at a time. And it's a little bit difficult because it's taken us so many years of hearing that same negativity over and over again. It feels very awkward to institute a positive word into our internal dialogue. And for each and every one of us, it'll be different, right? Maybe we pick apart our size, or maybe the way that we look, or the way that we do something. We want to pick something that represents the exact opposite. For example, if my dialogue is, I'm so stupid, I'm so dumb, I don't want to come up with something like, oh, I look great in this dress. Right? We want it to be relevant. We want it to be relevant, the exact opposite of what we're dealing with. We're flipping the script. We're bringing our life into balance. We're recognizing the negative that we say, and we're flipping the script, and we're saying something of the exact opposite. That means the positive. And that is one way, one word a day, that we can begin to institute a positive dialogue to bring ourselves into that internal balance. And another thing I'll share is that yesterday I made chili. And lately I've been having a problem with the chili not being spicy enough, right? Not a big deal. And when I sat down to eat, the first thing that I said was, oh, this chili is terrible. It's this, it's that, it's all of these things. And I'm like, wait a minute. This chili is amazing. This is the best chili I ever made. It's okay for me to say I made good food. I was blown with myself that the words came out of my mouth. I have been doing self-transformational work for years. And when you have the amount of trauma and drama that you do, right, our whole entire life, it takes time of doing this work consistently every single day. We do the yoga, we do the meditation, we do our readings, we use the crystals, we do all of these things. And then one day it takes flight. We don't even have to be mindful. It just comes right to us. So we want to make sure that softening, that we use the exact opposite. We don't want to interject something that doesn't make sense. We want to keep it right in row with what we're already saying. Next, we have card number 4, the compassionate voice. What does my wise, loving self wish to tell me instead? This is the voice of my higher self, okay? The calm, grounded, endlessly patient aspect of myself. And our helpful hint is, as I read this message aloud, let this vibration become your new internal language, right? Listen to the energy of this card and maybe begin to adapt this energy into your flow of beginning to flip that script, right? And the card that we have for that is the 7 of Wands. Ease off. Stand down. Stop being so aggressive with yourself. Stop being so defensive as well, right? We see this man with the wands. He has the stick up. He's guarding something. He's protecting. He's in the minor arcana, so he's still learning how to do this, but he's overprotective, and he's also being overly aggressive in a certain situation. The message here is to stand down, relax, maybe not have any judgment at all. If we can't come into a word to flip the script, maybe just shut the voice off altogether and be willing just to be in silence, to ease off with ourselves, to resist the need to have to say anything at all. What if we just came into silence? What if we just let that thought go without saying anything at all, right? It's like blown from that perspective because we've been told so many things. There was someone in our life that kept saying something. Then we started saying it. After 50 years, stopping is terrifying as well. That can bring us to a place of stuck. But if we're unable to flip that script, the compassionate voice says, ease off. Just stop talking negative altogether. Just don't say a word. Just let the moment pass. The chili's fine. This isn't anything anyone's going to die from. This is all learned behavior. It's a habit. It's a habit. It's a habit. That's the part that's so alarming in this work. None of this has any meaning. It's just a habit that we picked up from other people in our life, or a learned behavior from experiencing extremely dysfunctional behaviors, right? We begin to respond with negativity as well. Next, we have card number 5. Card number 5 is the rewritten story. What new belief or behavior can guide the way that I speak to myself moving forward? This is our new empowered narrative, the truth that we now choose to live by. This can be a message or a note, a little something that may be put somewhere that when we begin to feel that trigger, when we begin to feel ourselves getting upset and we're ready to kick out that negative self-talk, we can look at this and realize, oh, that's right? Even before we flip the script or ease off, right? This can be something that helped to carry us on our way. The card that we have for this is the Emperor card. Now, the Emperor card is the Emperor because he excels at everything he does. Everything he does is excellent, right? He's the Emperor because he's mastered everything within his domain. And we've seen the Emperor a few times because we're dealing with the same subject matter over and over. The Emperor appears to let us know we have everything that we need to succeed. Everything is already within us. We already have everything that we need to live the journey that we always desired, to become the woman that we were created to be, to manifest our soulful business, and to manifest a luxury lifestyle that we always desired. The Emperor did not become the Emperor because he didn't take a chance. The Emperor became an emperor because he worked his ass off. There's a lot of things that he had to do. And back in the day, they had to, fight wars. They had to win battles. They had to be the strongest person in the community. They were someone that everyone looked up to, right? If they were a good ruler, and they mastered all these different skills. They were excellent in everything they approached. That's how they become the emperor. This card lets us know we have everything within us. We need to succeed. There's nothing that we need to look outward at. Once we learn to soften this harsh inner critic and reconnect with who we are as women, to get to know our inner goddess, to trust our divine feminine energy, all of this naturally comes forward. We're willing to put our foot out. We're willing to open the door and take a risk. We're willing to try. We're willing to do something different because we will never get to a place of becoming the highest version of ourselves, living the lifestyle that we've always imagined by playing safe. It's not going to happen. I take a risk every time I turn this camera on, right? I struggle hugely with being on camera. I can do things live, but when it comes to filming, I don't know what it is. I just internally freak out. But guess what? My business requires me to do this, and this is what I do because I have everything within me that I need to succeed, right? I've mastered my fears and I'm able to step out of that box and exude myself in a confident way to be willing to screw something up and to say, okay, let's try this again, right? That's all it really is, right? All that stuff that we've incurred in our lifetime, we have to be willing to let this fall away from us. Just let it fall off. Now we have our final card, which is our message from our goddess. And today, the card we'll be drawing is from the Whispers of Love deck. This is one of my favorite oracle decks, and it has very gentle, very loving messages. How can my inner goddess keep me on track with my powerful new self-talk? This is your inspirational message and or meditation card that you can use to focus your energy towards your inner voice to create a brand new stellar and sophisticated inner dialogue. And our helpful hint is here as we're beginning to implement these new words, as we're beginning to shed away the past, as we're learning to take risk, as we're finding balance and flipping the script with the words, or sometimes we're easing off, right? How can we keep that energy going? And our message is spiritual connection. Look at the beauty of these cards. They are so gorgeous. The message here is the relationship, spiritual connection, and the message is this relationship has a connection that goes beyond this lifetime. This is a strong calling to build a strong connection to our higher power and spiritual team. There are many of us that throughout our life have either not had a spiritual path, maybe were indoctrinated into different types of religion, and you just never got into anything that you were introduced to. Maybe you were like me and were atheists for a long time. Maybe you tried tried other different things that once you found out what they were about, you realized it was, just a kind of fluff. And then one day we understand that there's a higher power. We understand that there is someone or something greater than ourselves that I call spirit. I couldn't do any of this until I formed that connection. I had to have something greater with me in my life to believe in besides myself. These words that I speak are not mine. They come from my higher power. These cards don't come from me. They come from my higher power. Everything I write, everything I create, everything I do comes from my connection above. This is an invitation to you to deepen that spiritual connection. And spirituality comes in different forms. Like I'll say God, universe, spirit, love, light, or energy. Somewhere in there is usually something for somebody that we can begin to build some type of beginning relationship with something greater than ourselves that we can begin to read about, we can pray to, we can meditate with, we can learn to trust, and we can learn to rebuild ourselves from the inside out, because being stuck doesn't serve. We don't get through life. We don't become the highest version of ourselves by being stuck. We have to learn to let that voice go from the past, even if it was ours, to let it go, to be willing to risk to get our heart broken, to maybe lose an investment, or to maybe have to start over again, because we have a whole life here that we have to learn to live. There's a whole bunch of things we haven't even had a chance to do. I'm still waiting to get my motorcycle certification. There's a lot of things that I kept myself from doing, or my beliefs from my past kept me from doing. I didn't think I was smart enough. I didn't think I was good enough. As I got older, I was like, I could do anything I set my mind to, right? I can do whatever I put my mind to, right? We have to let those beliefs go and be willing to go on that journey. When we think about the softening, how can we begin to soften our inner self-talk? We start by flipping the script. We replace one negative word with a positive one. Whatever the direct opposite is, I'm so stupid, I'm so smart, I'm so ugly, I'm so beautiful. Whatever it is for you, one word at a time. And then we begin to build on that. And over time, it begins to take flight. Then we come into the compassionate voice. What does it want to say instead? Ease off. Maybe stop talking. Maybe resist having anything to say. Stop being so defensive. Stop being so judgmental. Just stop it. Ease off. Stand down. Lay the sword down. Stop fighting with ourselves. Start standing for ourselves. It's a whole entire shift of perspective. Even if it's in the minor arcana, that's a huge awakening that we don't even have to have a judgment. We can just let it go without any acknowledgement at all. I could have sat down and ate my chili and cleaned up and went about my way and didn't have to say anything at all. But we're so conditioned, right? This is how we begin to break it. Then the rewritten story. What new belief can guide my way? I can do anything I put my mind to. I'm my own emperor. I love with an open heart, and I judge with an open heart. When I am having to use judgment, I do it with an open mind. I'm not critical. I'm doing it from a place of love, from a place of compassion, from a place of understanding, even if I'm looking at other people, right? But the Emperor represents having everything within us that we need to succeed. We don't have to look outwards. We just have to look inwards. But we're so congested with all the trauma and the drama and the damage and dysfunction that we just can't get past our front door. We go to turn on the computer, and next thing you know, we're on Amazon. It's so hard. But guess what? All the good things are hard. Literally. But seriously, you look at all the famous people in the world with everything that they ever did in their life, required incredible risk. There's no guarantees. There's no guarantee that if you're not safe in your house, that you have a bad gas line and it blows up. There's nothing that's going to keep us safe. Nothing. Life is about risk. And if you want to become the woman that you were created to be, to manifest a soulful business, and to live that luxury lifestyle that you've always imagined, we have to be willing to let the past go. Whether it's our negative body image, whether it's our negative self-talk, whatever it is, we have to learn to let it go. It doesn't serve anything. It doesn't keep us safe. It doesn't. It keeps us from experiencing that which we came into this world to do. We came in with a plan. We came in with a purpose. Every single person was made for more. That includes me and you. There are no extra people. There's not. So we'll close out our reading today with a little ritual. It's called the Cup of Kindness. And this involves using tea, or we can use hot water or warm water as well. Whatever works well for you. But we'll need a mug of warm tea or infused water. You can use chamomile, rose, or whatever you prefer. A quiet place to sit in stillness, and maybe a little comfort crystal, right? We like to have a little stone with us. We can use an amethyst, maybe rose quartz or a clear crystal. Whatever it is that you have on hand will work perfectly well. Now, this is the little practice, right? It's a little 4-step process. So we set up at our table, and we begin with our intention, step number 1. And we whisper, I'm preparing warmth for my heart. And as we pour our tea slowly, we watch the steam rise like an exhale, a visible release of all the old words that once weighed heavy. Step 2, we infuse with kindness. We hold our cup to our chest and speak aloud or silently. May this warmth remind me to speak softly, to listen kindly, and to love the person that I am becoming. Step 3, we sip in stillness. Imagine each sip of your tea coating your throat and your heart in light, soothing every place where harshness once echoed. And then we take a moment to let that set in, and we seal with this breath. We close our eyes, inhale deeply, exhale deeply, and whisper, my words are my medicine, my kindness is my truth. So mote it be. And that's just a little simple tea ritual. I'm sure if you like to use instant coffee or something else, you are more than welcome to replace that, or you can substitute anything that you desire. Or something else you can do, if none of that is for you, you can also journal about the way that you feel. A powerful healing step is writing a letter to that inner critic. Maybe writing a letter to the person that kicked off that inner critic. We don't have to give it to them. We can just send it out into the universe, right? Just send it out into space. We can roll it up in paper and burn it in a flame and send it off with love and kindness to be recycled for our highest good. But either way, we want to begin and keep working to get that negativity out of our body. And we'll close our session with this simple blessing. May the sharpness of your words melt into the abyss. May the harsh voice within learn to rest, wrapped within the warmth of your own compassion. May every thought become a tender prayer, each word a bridge back to your heart. You are not your harshness. You are the love that softens it. And when you speak to yourself now, may it always be with grace. And so it is. Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that reading. Sorry about my voice. It gets like that. And I'm telling you, when I do these readings, the energy flows through me. Once I get going, I can't stop. But thank you very much for joining me. I hope you found this beneficial. If you are seriously struggling with your inner critic, maybe with negative body image, I have another reading on body image and a yoga class and a 70-minute class to help you soften your inner critic. Both are very powerful, especially with this reading, to help you get on your transformational journey. Thank you so much for joining me today. Brightest blessings, everyone, and I will see you all in the next video. Thank you and have a wonderful day.